Hello, this video is about Maximet. Maximet. People often ask me, what's the best edge retaining steel you can get in a pocket knife? Maximet's not that steel, but what it is the best widely available edge retaining steel you can get in a pocket knife. And by that I mean that you can watch this video, you can go and buy a Maximet knife and it can be at your house within the week. Higher grade steels for edge retention than this are generally going to be knives with waiting lists or custom makers, things like that. Spyderco, whatever you feel about them, you've got a tip of the hat to them for definitely letting loose with the more crazy steels. A lot of the other companies, they sort of just, their glass ceiling is 20 CV, M390, maybe some S90V. Spyderco generally does do that little tad extra bit of experimentation with their steels, and really cool to see Maximet in most of their evergreen knives. So I really like that you can go and get a Para 3 in this now, or you can get a Sage 5 in this now, which is a very good combination. So what is Maximet? Maximet's a high carbide steel, so it's got a high amount of vanadium and a high amount of tungsten, and it's got some cobalt in its matrix as well. It's about 2.2% carbon, about 4.5% chromium. Those are the basic ingredients. It's got all sorts of other traces and whatnot in it as well. Just talking about what those things are going to do, tungsten and vanadium are going to have large, coarse, hard-wearing carbides forming your edge. Some chromium is also going to form carbides. When paired up with the carbon, it might be mainly tied up forming chromium carbides, so it might not be doing too much stain resistance. And as such, Maximet is going to be, it's kind of like a tool steel rather than a just leave out forever, don't even worry about it stainless steel. So you are going to make a choice, I suppose, if you're looking at your crazy edge retaining steels. The other choices available to you are probably going to be S110V, also on the Legacy series of Spyderco knives. Maybe some S90V here and there as well. And then some K390 on your Seki knives, and then the rest of the knife companies basically are doing 20 CV and M390 as their kind of upper echelon steels. So Maximet will outcut most of those, if not all of them, but it will be probably the least stainless of all of them, save for perhaps K390. What beats Maximet? Rex 121. It's been a while. Rex 121 will beat Maximet in edge retention. As will possibly CPM 15V, depending on how it's sharpened. It'll come very close to matching it. And there's always some new boundary pushing steel that's on the horizon, but Maximet is definitely a stayer in terms of cutting rope specifically for a long, long time. So what we're doing today is we're doing an edge retention test. You've seen this channel, I hope. If you haven't, I do edge retention testing. It's very backyard science. It's very kind of helped me fill in the blanks. What I do is I cut twisted sisal rope with the front portion of the blade on this same chopping board until the knife no longer cuts into a held sheet of paper with the area I'm using. So until it stops doing a cut like this, once it starts hiccuping and stopping, that's when I stop the test. The number of rope cuts is the score given to this particular blade. And over time, we get a good picture about how good or bad steels are at edge retaining. I try and keep the variables as often as as close as I can, but remembering, of course, this is just one kind of test done by one kind of guy in one kind of location. So yeah, use it to inform yourself, but perhaps don't. Go and check out Knife Steel Nerds if you want to see some more of those controls applied and less of the variables out in the open, out in the wild, so to speak. So the cool thing about this edge today is this is a dual grit sharpened Maximet edge, and that is a sharpening technique I believe possibly pioneered. I'm gonna say pioneered. Voice is getting high because I'm not sure. It's definitely propagated by a chap called Gabe over in New Zealand. You can check out his channel called The Home Slice, and you can check out his video about how he sharpens this knife. So it's a unique style of sharpening where you have one side is coarser than the other side, and the other side is quite highly polished, and both are stropped. There's a really cool article I'll link you as well with some really nice electron microscope photography of a dual grit sharpened edge, which is very, very nice as well. I'll put that down below too. Overall though, as a bit of a steel review, Maximet in my experience responds pretty well to most kinds of edges. It has some problems with a brittleness, just depending on the heat treatment. Spyderco had a range at the start that was slightly brittle, but as with all things, most can be corrected with a tailored heat treatment. So if you're after a really good example of a Maximet blade, I'd suggest getting on the Instagram, looking at the steel nerd guys who are also knife makers, like Case Knives, Triple B Handmade, guys like that, and they will make you, once you're on their books, and of course, they'll make you a knife with a heat treatment you can set your watch to. Spyderco, for example, probably about a safe level of heat treatment for Maximet rather than going all out, which I understand given they're doing mass machining. What we do have, regardless though, is a great steel that will hold an edge for a good long time, as long as you don't try and lever apart railway ties and things like that. Your Maximet blade should do you quite nicely. Last very, very long. Oil it from time to time because it will tarnish, or go the whole other way and just dip it in some vinegar for a couple of days and put your nice patina on it. Then you don't have to worry at all, okay? This is a mule. Mules are the kind of knife experiment series of fixed blades from Spyderco. Very kind of neutral blades, neutral handles, all pretty much the same. Some are thinner, some are thicker, some are a millimeter or two longer than others. But mules are a great initiative from Spyderco, and they are coming back. Doing lots of different steels and releasing them to the community and letting nerds like me play with them. So this one was sent by Gabe after being sharpened. They don't come with the handles. These handles are aftermarket, so just keep that in mind. If you want to go off on a mule buying adventure, make sure you buy some handles as well. All right, so we're going to cut some rope. I am a little bit rusty on this, to be honest. So it's been a while since I've been able to do a video. I've been really busy. I've just had lots of other stuff on. I'm a homeowner. I do all sorts of other things around the home. We went on holidays last week. Went to the zoo. Just went to our nearest kind of big city. It was nice. But yeah, I'm back. I hope to do some more knife videos. I've got some more knives on the way. Let's get into the test. It's been 7 minutes. I just feel like it's nice to catch up. It's nice to shoot the shit on steels. Edge retention test. Let's go. A little bit of edge loss. Well, what an interesting thing to happen in a video about Maximet. So, this edge seems to have slightly flaked off, just a little tiny bit. Definitely, you can see it with the naked eye. Just from it's flattened out, it's gone a little bit rough. Maybe this is the steel that is not so good with this type of sharpening technique. I'll grab the camera and I'll show you. So that was at 500 and I could notice it wasn't feeling as clean through the rope. So I stopped at 500. I'm gonna have to call this an error, this one. I reckon it's just, well, not an error, it's just perhaps the limitation of this steel or the sharpening style. Let's have a look-see. So there you go, perfect. You can see it right there, just above my finger. You can see how it sort of notches in just a little bit. This sort of the apex has kind of lost a little chunk on it, or the burr is just folded down if it was a wire burr all along. Yeah. So yeah, definitely like a smoothing out or a flattening out of that point there. It's quite rough to the touch. It's got lots of little areas there that have gone along. Very interesting. This sharpening style has generally got amazing results on other knives. That being said, Maximet is a different beast. and it may be, I mean, it's still cut 500 times on whatever that, maybe it was a fragile burr, whatever it was. But still, I was expecting probably, I was expecting to do 3 times that almost, or, at least double it to compete with what else has happened. And I guess looking at those images, I guess the electron microscope images, you see those raggedy burrs. And I guess you think, well, maybe if it's so hard, like this Maximet's, I think it's 66 or something, maybe that is the stage where the wooden board perhaps, or the rope, or probably the wooden board, maybe just grabs it a certain way and twists it off. So there you go. Unusual result for Maximet on the dual grit. Couldn't really say too much because it's just a single knife, but possible limitations of Maximet? I don't know. Well, is that the limit of Maximet? Well, I don't know. It's always just one knife. The general picture of Maximet shows that it is a really good edge retaining steel. I would suggest that something about this specific technique has made maybe this hard glassy kind of steel maybe doesn't respond as well to having sort of a more raggedy hanging out there kind of bevel. Who knows? It did cut really, really well at the start, properly slid through the rope, and then it was at about the 450 marker, so you feel it, you start to feel it chugging a little bit, and I wasn't particularly surprised when at 500 it didn't do so well, and it started to sort of just nip and tear at the paper. So it's sort of a bit of a kind of rough and catchy edge, whereas right down at the back there, which I wasn't using, still super duper sharp. So I would suggest that, and this is obviously just from one knife and one test and all that sort of stuff, I'd keep my sharpening of your Maximet a little bit more conventional. That being said, awesome. Keep trying different crazy things with your steels. Knives are to be used and to be experimented with. There's no point having these amazing fancy steels if we don't use them for the attributes that they give us. Nothing dumber than buying a sprint run of a high edge retaining steel and never using it. So yeah, all this is part of the fun. Not what I expected. I thought this would be, because just looking at the rule, I thought I was building a bit of a rule that you do this dual grit sharpening style to an edge, you get massively more edge retention. Maybe Maximet is the limit. It might be a little bit too hard, a little bit too something's going on. So at any rate, it's all part of the fun, and it's all part of the steel testing life, So yeah, my Maximet previously at 17 degrees per side, and I think 15 per side as well. Great results. Yeah, this may be that bridge too far for it. Who knows? Watch Gabe's sharpening video. Check out his channel. He talks good talk about steels. Another good steel nerd resource, nonetheless. And I'll probably send this one back to him for him to have a bit of a geeze at, as it is exactly. I'll put it back in his cool little sheath he made for it. And you can have a look. Gabe, have a look and yeah, see what you reckon about what's happened. Maybe worth busting out a little microscope or something and just having a bit of a gaze and seeing what's going on. I've got a 4V knife with this same style of sharpening as well. And I got a feeling, but then I had a feeling this would do really well. I had a feeling that 4V might be more suited to this style of sharpening, the more kind of extreme. Anyway, that's Maximet, a bit more discussion on it anyway, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.